The Dolphins can't even tank properly. What is up, guys? My name's John Camacho. This is Between the Pylons. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to the video. Follow me on Twitter at Between Pylons, and of course check out my podcast that I do with my good friend Jacob Waters every single Wednesday. It is a great listen. And now let's get on with the show. All right, guys. First game of the Sunday slate that I want to talk about is the Lions at the Bears. Trubisky actually showed up today, was able to throw 3 touchdowns, 3 beautiful touchdown passes, I might add. Didn't have a great, statistical game as far as yards, only 173 yards through the air, but, at least it seemed like in the middle of the game almost he just flipped a switch and was actually able to put up points. Because, before those 3 touchdowns, they only had 20 points. 3 touchdowns is theoretically 21 points, so you kind of see how that went. The Lions, on the other hand, really missed Matt Stafford. I felt like Jeff Driscoll just did not really give them a chance to win the game at all. This is a Lions team that is kind of struggling on both sides of the ball a little bit, and Matt Stafford's been able to, they only have 3 wins, but Matt Stafford is really the reason they've been in as many games as they've been in this year, and it was really disappointing to see that he was out. I feel like there was talks about him being injured, but you didn't really feel like he was going to be out until the medical staff basically said, "Hey, you're not playing this week," and I think it showed. If there are any Matt Stafford haters out there, I think this game is a great example of, hey, Matt Stafford's the man. Like, he doesn't have a lot to work with on a weekly basis, and he's especially this year, he's been putting up numbers, he's been putting up yards, and he's been playing really well, and it was a shame to not see him out there on the field. Moving on to the Bills at Browns. The Browns shocked the Bills, winning 19-16 at home. This was a big game for the Browns. They came into this game 2-6. Not mathematically out of the playoffs, but essentially out. But this is the AFC, and I'm going to tell you right now, a 9-6 team is going to get into the playoffs. And if the Browns can win out, they still have an outside chance of doing that and of making the playoffs. I don't foresee that happening at all, but this game was wildly entertaining. The Browns started the game off really, you could tell they came into this game wanting to air it out. Like they took a bunch of shots deep downfield, and it worked. They were able to score pretty early on. My biggest issue with the Browns is Freddie Kitchens. He said earlier this week that he doesn't look at the stats, and that was kind of broke down by football Twitter, and they kind of were coming for his neck because they were saying he doesn't follow analytics at all, and football is moving so far into analytics, and I'm getting into analytics a lot, and I see how much that all this extra information can help teams. And when teams like the Eagles and the Patriots are relying on analytics and they're winning games, and then you see teams like the Browns that apparently aren't using analytics and they're not winning a lot of games, it should be a wake-up call for Kitchens. And I say all that to say, when he said all that, I didn't automatically think, oh, well, that means he doesn't follow analytics. Like, he might have just been saying that to get the reporter off his back because the reporter was asking about Baker's completion percentage, watching this game, and I watched a lot of this game, I really came to realize I don't think he cares about analytics. I don't think he has an analytics department. I don't know. It truly felt like he was coaching with his heart. Like, it felt like he was a fan in the stands coaching. Like, the decisions he made seemed very not smart. I don't know the right way to say it. They seemed like there was not a lot of thought put in to the decisions he made. Specifically, the goal line situation, and you may have heard of it already. If you didn't watch the game, the Browns were on the goal line 7 times. They had 7 attempts to get in the end zone in a goal-to-go situation against the Bills. There were 2 pass interference calls on OBJ that gave them extra downs. Now, what do they do with these opportunities? Well, they called 3 or 4 really weird run games, like run plays where they're like pulling a guard or have a lot of movement on the line when like it's goal line. Nick Chubb's a big dude. Just have him dive into the end zone. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't always work, but like you don't need to be like super extra about it. You know what I mean? And then if he wasn't running the ball, he was throwing a fade to OBJ. That was it. That was the masterful goal line offense that the Browns have. So they do this. They finally don't get it on their last third down. Fourth down, you got to kick it, right? You've already failed. 6 times. 7 times. Excuse me. 6 times. You've already failed 6 times. Well, Kitchens decides to stay out there and run the ball on a pitch. And they don't get in. Shocker. Like, y'all couldn't get in 6 times doing the same 2 basic plays. Run the ball with Chubb, throw the ball to OBJ. Those 2 plays didn't work 6 times. And you're going to fucking do it again the 7th time when you could put points on the board? Like, they won. It's 16-19. They won 16-19. But that 3 points fucking mattered in this game. That 3 points mattered. And he didn't, I mean, whatever. It's easy to look back now. You know, if he gets in on that 7th try, he looks like a genius. So I get that, you know, so shit like that is really difficult to judge. But I just, there's multiple times if you're watching the Browns where it's like, you're not doing what you should be doing. Like I look at it a little bit and I know, you know, they're not very successful in 11 personnel, but they're constantly in 11 personnel. Like stuff like that is absolutely ridiculous to me. Like that's the shit that I can't let slide when you're constantly putting your team in a worse situation to win. And that's what I feel like Kitchens does. The only other notes that I had on this game, the Browns were basically daring Josh Allen to throw the entire game. Like they had everybody right on that box. They were fine putting single high safety and man coverage, and they said, hey, fuck it. If you think you can throw, try it. And I mean, I don't think Josh Allen can throw very well because it wasn't an issue. And the other thing, Kareem Hunt flashed big time. I mean, Kareem Hunt is still the same electric dude that he was 2 years ago. Shocker. But, I mean, the Browns have legitimate 2 weapons at running back, and I feel like they should do everything they can to have both those guys on the field. They should really lean on the run game. I know, you know, all offseason they were looking at the passing game. They thought that was going to be, you know, they thought they were going to be this air raid offense that was going to be able to, not air raid, but this offense that was, you know, throwing piss missiles all over the field. Well, for whatever reason, it's not working. The offensive line isn't great in pass protection. They're struggling, and Baker's struggling. It seems like the entire offense is struggling, but the only bright spot is Nick Chubb and now Kareem Hunt, and they should absolutely lean on that for the rest of the season. It probably won't matter. They're 3-6. This game was a great win for the Browns, but it's not. It means more for the Bills, who are now 6-3. And on the Bills side of the ball, they played the game they want to play. They played a close fest game, and they just weren't able to get it done in the end and go down and score a touchdown. And I put that on Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen had opportunities to win this game, and he didn't. And I think that's really the story of the game for the Bills. Moving on to the Chiefs at the Titans. There's a lot of upsets this week, and the Titans upset the Chiefs to move to 5-5 on the season. The Chiefs are now 6-4. The Titans won this game on a blocked punt at the very end of the game. A blocked kick at the very end of the game that would have tied the game had Buckner made it. This game ended 35-32. Ryan Tannehill making himself a lot of money. He is 3-1 as a starter for the Titans. He has brought the Titans into have an opportunity to, you know, possibly win the division, possibly get a wild card spot. This team is rolling, and they've found their answer at quarterback. You can tell the team is rallying behind them. He led a come from behind victory to win this game over a Chiefs defense that isn't good. I'm not going to sit here and say it was, the most amazing comeback ever, but I mean, this is a team that, the Chiefs want to play. The Chiefs want to put up 30 points a game. They want to dare you to put up 35, 40. And that's what the Titans were able to do this week, and it was really, really impressive. I will say Tannehill has a huge fumbling problem. Like, he's got to get that fixed. Like, do some hand muscles. I don't know, hand workouts. I don't know, like, what you do there. How do you fix that? But, like, I mean, dude needs to be able to handle the ball, hold on to the ball just a little bit better. Yeah, and this game, it really shook up the divisions. Now the Chiefs are really only one game ahead of the Oakland Raiders in the West. So, I mean, that division becomes kind of up for grabs right now. And the Titans, they're only one game behind the Texans, tied with the Colts. That division, wide open. I mean, the Texans are beatable. And the Colts that lost to the Dolphins, obviously beatable as well, especially without Brissett. This game was huge. Titans played very well. Super, super exciting. And as always, Tyreek Hill was a beast. There was nothing wrong with the Chiefs' offense, I wouldn't say. It was obviously defensively they're still struggling, but I mean this was a great game, and the Titans really came to play, and they were able to win a close one. Moving on to another stunner, probably even more of a stunner, like the stunner of the weekend. Falcons beat the Saints, and when I say the Falcons beat the Saints, the Falcons beat the Saints. They win 26-9. It was kind of close in the first half, but the Falcons they ran over the Saints. They controlled that game pretty much from the beginning. The Falcons defense came to play, and they really shut down the Saints passing attack. And I don't think Kamara is healthy. He didn't have a lot of snaps. He didn't get the ball a ton. It seemed like they were really trying to slow him down and have him as a very reduced role this week. And I'm sure they were thinking that it wasn't going to be an issue. They're probably going to beat the Falcons anyway. Well, it was an issue. Falcons came off their bye ready to play, and the Saints came off their bye not ready to play. In my opinion, this game was very reminiscent of last week, the Packers getting shocked by the Chargers. This is very similar to the Saints. They're rolling top of their division, one of the best teams in the NFC, and they just got manhandled by the Falcons. After the game, the defensive back Isaiah Oliver did say that he attributes a lot of the success for the defense and Raheem Morris, who ended up going and moving over to the defensive backs coordinator, and he had a lot to do with that group excelling in the way they did. Not gonna lie, I didn't know about that move until doing a little bit of research for this and realizing, Dan Quinn, or apparently Isaiah Oliver is testing a lot of this the success of this defensive stand. I mean, they held the Saints to no touchdowns, only 9 points, and a lot of that is apparently the result of Raheem Morris being a big part of that defensive backfield. The only other thing to note, Freeman and Hooper both got hurt. Those are big losses for the Falcons. I would say Hooper more than Freeman. Freeman is kind of on the end of his career, not as explosive as he once was. But Hooper is a baller, and he's a huge weapon for that Falcons team. And if they lose him, that could be huge for the rest of the season. Again, not that it really matters. I don't think this 2-7 Falcons team has any chance, because I can tell you right now, 9-7 isn't getting into the playoffs. So I'm pretty certain that it's over for the Falcons. But I mean, that would still suck for the rest of the year for the Falcons team. Breeze was sacked 6 times by the Falcons. Their defensive line really showed up. This entire team really showed up to play this week, and it shows by the scoreboard. They dominated 26-9. Moving on to the Ravens at the Bengals. The Ravens absolutely annihilated the Bengals today. I mean, the Bengals were in a totally different league. Like, they were League C, and the Ravens are in the NFL. It's absolutely insane. It was a blowout, 49-13. Bengals stay undefeated with a 2-game lead in the first pick in the draft over the Dolphins now, which is heartbreaker for any Dolphins fan like myself. I thought, Lamar Jackson played awesome. You're going to see the 47-yard touchdown run on every highlight reel for the rest of the week. He put up 223 yards through the air and 3 touchdowns with a 99.8 QBR. And that was in about 3 quarters. Yeah, and then Robert Griffin the third took over. Ryan Finley started for the Bengals this week, and it was kind of funny because, I mean, he really did remind me of a young Andy Dalton. So I see what the Bengals were trying to do. Mediocrity for life. I like it. I support it. And the last note that I had on this game, at some point, this Ravens offense is going to get figured out, right? It is, in its nature, somewhat gimmicky, right? Now, I'm not saying you're going to figure out how to stop Lamar Jackson. Like, he's such an athlete. He's such a weapon. I know that, like, some of these wild plays, they're going to happen. It's just, there's no way around it. And when you're the best athlete in the field and you have the ball in your hand every play, you're going to make some plays here and there. But the question remains, when will a team figure out how to stop this offense on a weekly basis? Or what team, I thought it would be the Patriots, but the Patriots really couldn't stop this offense. And there's, they've lost 2 games, but it wasn't because they've been stopped by any means. It just, you lose sometimes. But I mean, this Ravens team is rolling. They're 7-2 right now, and if nobody figures out how to stop them, they're going to win a lot of football games. They're going to be dangerous in the postseason because what wins games? Defense and running, and that's what this team can do. Let's move on today to a game that I admittedly did not do a lot of watching of. I did not watch the Giants and Jets play very much. These are 2 teams that came to this game with 3 total wins. I can tell you I did not expect Barkley to be held to 1 yard on 13 carries. Apparently there are injury concerns there, so that could be very interesting for the Giants, very devastating for the Giants if it does end up being serious. Jets, I mean, they came to play this week. They didn't come to play last week against the Dolphins, but they came to play this week, won the game 27-34. Darnold played pretty well, had a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown. Still wasn't great, but played well. And these are 2 bad teams, and I'm not gonna overblow how well the Jets played. They beat a bad team and they played them pretty well. That's I'm gonna leave it there, and that will kind of trickle right into the Cardinals and Bucks, another team that after this game has the same amount of wins, which is 3. Cardinals 3-6-1, and the Bucks are 3-6. The Bucks win this by 3 points, 27-30, and it was, I mean, exactly as advertised. The Jameis Winston up and down show. I mean, his first third down passing attempt was an interception, but he ended the game with, I believe, 2 interceptions, and then they also had 2 fumbles. So, I mean, they did not play a clean game by any means, but they were able to beat an Arizona team that, in my opinion, needs to take a page out of the Ravens playbook and really just, use the weapon that is Kyler Murray, because, I mean, I can see it when he does run, but, I mean, he's only rushing 3 times a game. Like, that's how many times he rushed this week, 3 times. That's not enough. I mean, the Cardinals want to win, and I understand you're trying to protect him, but, like, you can tell him to get down. You can tell him not to get hurt. The dude's fast enough to where, like, he can get into the lanes. You're not even threatening it. Like, run a design run early. Get him out in space. I don't feel like that shouldn't be rocket science for an Arizona team that's not doing well. They're 3-6-1, and they've played a lot of close games, but they're not winning them. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that their red zone offense is terrible, and it showed up again as very, very bad. And Kyler Murray is not utilizing his full set of skills, because he is a great thrower of the football, absolutely. But he's also a really good runner, and use that, especially early. Use that now while he has it, and then let him develop his passing. So 3-4 years ago, or years from now, he's a pocket quarterback in the same vein as Russell Wilson. I mean, his Russell Wilson's first season wasn't beautiful. It wasn't great. He ran the ball a lot. He was smart with the football, and he was on a really good team. That helped. But I mean, that's what Murray should be doing, and I'm a little surprised. I'm shocked at this point that throughout the season they're just not doing it. Other things to note, Ronald Jones was heavily used in the passing attack with 8 catches for 77 yards. But I will say, I mean, he had the same amount of carries as Barber. But I mean, so the talk about him becoming the lead back, I think that's a little bit overblown. He's definitely getting more the percentage of the snaps, absolutely. But he is not. I wouldn't consider him the lead back just yet. He's the more talented back, absolutely. But he's still getting the same amount of touches, which they got 11 each this week. And then Kenyon Drake for the Cardinals running game. Kenyon Drake's the leading running back for this team right now. I believe he had 10 touches to Duke Johnson's 5, I think. I didn't write it down. I'm pretty sure that's right. This team, I mean, they're all out of whack. I don't understand what the Cardinals are doing. And as far as the Bucks go, I understand what they're doing. They're just praying that Jameis Winston doesn't fuck the game up. And he tried his best to fuck it up this week, and he just barely got away with it, honestly. All right, now we get to talk about my Miami Dolphins for a minute. This was a 3 o'clock game, which was the first 3 o'clock game the Dolphins played this year. And I can't imagine many people were watching it when the Panthers and Packers and Rams and Steelers were playing at the same time. Those games were great. This game was great too. It was a different kind of great though. It was kind of like, who can be shittier? The Dolphins defense was pretty solid. They held Hoyer in check. I don't think the Dolphins win this game without Brissett, with Brissett playing. I don't. They clearly missed Brissett badly. Hoyer throws 3 interceptions, and that pretty much was the defining point of the game. The Dolphins were able to do just enough to winning this game 16-12, and it's exciting in the sense that it's cool to see that this coaching staff is actually taking steps forward, because this is a Patriots style offense or defense, which a lot of that is kind of like this no nonsense approach to football, and a lot of the magic that the Patriots have is the fact that they were able to get their team to buy in. You know what I mean? And now it's easy. Now you have 19 years of success behind it. But in the early years, that is getting guys to commit, and especially when you go to a bad team and you have all this, it is difficult. Like it's not surprising that you had all these guys. Mika Fitzpatrick, for one, was somebody who wanted to leave. He didn't want to buy in, so Dolphins trade him. And that's gonna happen with these bad teams that are kind of instituting this new and culture shock type of approach. Well, they're getting a lot out of these players, because these are not incredibly talented guys, and they're able to produce and win games. And the Colts still have a good team, and they were able to keep them to 12 points this game. And Dolphins offense, which is not good at all, and they need help pretty much everywhere, were able to put up 16 points and win the game. I will say, there is not a lot of bright spots on this Dolphins team, but in a couple of years, assuming the Dolphins get better, they're going to add a lot of talent in their draft and everything. I do believe Jerome Baker is a name to know. He's the leading tackler for this Dolphins team. He is probably the best defensive player the Dolphins have right now with all the injuries, and he's pretty much the leader of that defense. He's a linebacker out of Ohio State. I believe he was a third or fourth round pick 2 years ago. This would be his second season. He's an absolute beast. He's the only player on this team that I feel like deserves to be a Pro Bowler. He won't be because he's on a bad team, and that just is what it is. But he's a name to know for future. And I think Dolphins lost their chance for the number 1 pick. Good thing we got 3 others. The Panthers played the Packers in Lambeau Field. This was a snowy game. Was a classic Lambeau type of game. Panthers come in and they were kind of playing catch up. It seemed like the whole game. Aaron Rodgers, I'm gonna restate this. Aaron Jones leads this team to a victory. Had 3 touchdowns in this game. Dominated with 93 yards on 13 carries, and this Packers team got back to the basics this week. They won by controlling the game through the run, and then on top of that, having Aaron Rodgers, do whatever he wanted when you put the ball in his hands, and that's what he was able to do. Devontae Adams was back in a big way with 7 catches, 118 yards, and they were able to dominate a Panthers defense that I think is really, really good. I really do. On the other side of the ball, Kyle Allen was really close to being the hero of this game. They get stopped at the 1 yard line on the comeback. Now, granted, they're down by 8, so that even if they get in, they would have had to get a 2-point conversion just to tie it, just to go to overtime. But I really truly believed while they were going to the field, Kyle Allen's going to get this done. I believed it. Granted, he threw what should have been an interception on that same drive, but other than that was early on. Other than that, I felt like he ran the offense very well. He made some plays here and there, and he got his team into a position to win, and that's something I really look for. Yes, it didn't work out. It's not always going to work out against a really good Packers defense, a really good Packers team. But he got his team into a situation where they're goal to go. They have one shot at it, 4th down, and at that point it's out of his hands. The play call is to run it up the middle with McCaffrey. I don't know that I agree with that play call, but it does make sense in the sense that you're getting your best player the ball. I probably would have called another pass play just because I think, they had McCaffrey open. He just slipped on the play before, or at least I think he slipped. It was a little bit outside. Kyle Allen didn't throw the best ball, but I feel like they would have had a better shot if they would have spread it out. And you have 3-4 really good pass catchers if you're counting Greg Olsen, Curtis Samuel, DJ Moore, and McCaffrey. You put all those guys out on routes, I think you can find the best matchup and be able to throw a good enough ball to win the game. I think that probably would have been the best call, but that's not what happened. Panthers end up losing, of course, and this is going to happen. That's kind of what this team is. This team is a get the ball to your playmakers and methodically drive down the field, and when that's not working, it's going to be tough. And Kyle Allen is really good, and I've been enjoying watching him play. I feel like he's grown a lot in the time that he's had to start. But he's still growing, and he's not an elite. I wouldn't say he's an elite passer of the football. He's just really average. I feel like as far as overall quarterback skill. He doesn't do anything bad, but there's nothing that is incredible about his game on the same time. So you're gonna have games like this. It happens. Played a very good Packers team. They lost. They go down to 5-4, which is gonna be tough. I don't think this team can get into the playoffs. I just don't. They're gonna be too far behind in a really, really good conference. And on the other, as far as the Packers go, this was a get back game. They lost bad to the Chargers, so I feel like they needed this game to kind of prove to everyone who's kind of starting to whisper, hey, is this all fake? Like, have the Packers run out of juice? Obviously not. They played a great game and were able to get a tough win against a great opponent. And the Rams played the Steelers. This was an ugly game. The Steelers win 17-12 against the Rams, bringing the Rams to 5-4 and the Steelers to 5-4. Who would have thought this after the September they had? The Steelers have won, I believe, 4 straight now. This was again carried by the defense. Minka Fitzpatrick had a scoop and score. Minka Fitzpatrick had an interception. Like he dominated this game. That was a great trade. They got their value for the first round pick that they spent on this guy. The Rams really just could not do anything offensively. Goff was constantly pressured, and he just was not able to produce outside of that. You can tell that this whole formula that they had a year ago is really evaporated into whatever they want to call this offense now, because I don't feel like they have an identity. The Steelers pretty much shut down Cooper Kupp the entire game. I don't think he got a catch. If he did, he only got 1 or 2. They shut down Cooper Kupp. They were able to make life really hard on Jared Goff, and I feel like, they did everything right. Defensively, they did everything right. The only reason the Rams had any points was because of, I mean, they had a safety and a defensive touchdown. They had 3 points offensively. They had a field goal offensively. They got a touchdown early, a fumble return for a touchdown, and they got a safety. I mean, uh, more points were scored by Rudolph for the Rams than by Jared Goff. That's crazy. Um, Tomlin, I feel like Mike Tomlin is in line for coach of the year because what he's done with this offense, the way he has gotten Rudolph to progress, and I don't think Rudolph's great, but he has put Rudolph in the best situations to win. He has coached up this defense to a point where I don't think they have the talent that a lot of other teams have, but they're playing like it, and they're playing fast and they're playing hard, and they're winning games that way. And you know that's what the Steelers want to do. They really are, and they are overcoming every single injury that happens to this team, and that is the sign of a great coach and a great franchise. And that's what the Steelers are, and that's what the Steelers have. This was a great game. I think this game showed a lot of the issues for the Rams, and while I don't think the Steelers are built and set up to have a great end of season, I don't feel like they're gonna make it to the playoffs. They're gonna be close. They're gonna be right on that edge, and they're gonna make life really hard for a lot of football teams. And last but not least, the thrilling Sunday night game between the Vikings and the Cowboys. The Vikings go up to 7-3 in a conference that is so competitive. They are among the best teams in that conference. They were able to beat a Cowboys team that, I mean, the Cowboys, okay, we're going to start here. The Vikings do the same thing. The Vikings have pretty much three keys to their offense. The stretch or pitch run game, the bootleg or play action off the run game, and the counter. That's it. That's all they have. And they run it really, really well. And that's not a bad thing, by the way. Like, it's really not. Like, the Rams had that last year. They had a great run game, and everything was built off of that run game. And they had these deep crossers that the Rams were able to pull off, and they just thrashed people. Well, that's kind of, and it's not exactly the same, but it's in the same vein of what the Vikings are able to do. I don't think they're doing quite as well as the Rams did last year, but that's a totally different conversation. My point is, the Cowboys have the pieces to stop that. They have two really good, not just two, they have a great defensive line. I mean, across the board. They have two stars on the defensive line, but they have a great defensive line. They have great linebackers, fast, dangerous linebackers that should be able to, gap contain and be able to stop these stretch run plays. And they have a good defense backfield. They should. I mean, they played without Thielen. They had to stop Diggs and Rudolph. That's pretty much all they had because the Vikings don't have a lot of weapons beyond that. And Kirk Cousins played really, really well, but he didn't like take the game over. He didn't. This was still a Dalvin Cook game. Dalvin Cook ran for over 180 yards. Stop Dalvin Cook. And the Cowboys should have the defense to do that, and they just didn't. I really believe like they just played the exact same defense. We're gonna stop you playing the shit that we play. Well, it's just not realistic. You got a game plan. You got a game plan week to week. That's what the great teams do, and the Cowboys are not a great team because they don't do that. Now, offensively, the Cowboys were able to kind of throw on the Vikings. They really were. I mean, it was kind of tough sledding here and there because the Vikings do have pretty good corners. Not great, but pretty good. But, I mean, the Vikings sold out to stop Zeke. They said, hey, we're going to stop Zeke. Dak, prove to me that you can beat us. Well, Dak put themselves in a great situation, or put the Cowboys in a great situation to win that game. The issue was the Cowboys kind of, at the very end of the game, the Cowboys were driving down the field. They're in the red zone. Kind of, I mean, it seemed like they went down pretty easily. Like, everyone was wide open. Every pass play seemed like the wide receivers had 2 or 3 yards of cushion at least. The plays were wide open, and then they start to get cute. And then it's 3rd and short, and you run the ball. Now it's 4th and short, and the game's on the line, and you throw it to Zeke Elliott, and yeah, Kendricks made a play. He tipped the ball, game over, just like that. Because you wanted to get cute? Come on. Cowboys, go play to win. Don't play to run the clock out and win with 2 seconds left on the field. Play to fucking win. They got way too cute at the end. The Cowboys were going to win this game. I felt like I felt like the momentum was there. Dak was throwing piss missiles all over the field. The receivers were doing whatever they wanted to the DBs at the end of the game. It seemed like they were just tired. I don't know. They were able to do whatever they wanted. And the Vikings, they were able to stop the run. They were stopping the run all game. So I don't know why you thought you were going to run up the middle magically when the defensive line of the Vikings were controlling the run game pretty much the entire time. So yeah, the Vikings get away with a win. One that, I mean, very easily could have gone the other way. And now everyone's gonna praise Kirk Cousins for winning in prime time. First of all, I think that's a bigger story. I think that's not as big of a story as everyone wants to make it. But at the same time, like, great, great. Your defense got to stop in the red zone, so magically you won. Your running back put up 180 yards, so yeah, Kirk Cousins won. No, it's just not realistic. That's not what happened. That's not how the game went. But of course, that's the storyline that everyone's gonna run with. So whatever. All right, guys, that is it for week 10 of the NFL season. The Seahawks and the 49ers play tomorrow. I am pumped for that game, mainly because I have a lot of fantasy players playing in that game, so I have very specific things that I need to happen. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment. I almost always reply to the comments, so please leave a comment. Let me know what you thought. I am always up for some constructive criticism or just criticism, whatever. I can take it. If you want to talk football with me, at Between Pylons on Twitter, hit me up, message me, whatever you want. I will almost certainly respond there, and I'm always down to talk football, any team, anytime. And guys, please always remember, just try and get 1% better every day. That's the goal of life. That's what I'm trying to do. Again, thanks guys.